The bridge as a structure is still safe and sound and sturdy. This damage could have been far worse.
A fiery crash on the Brent Spence Bridge, shutting down the major roadway between Kentucky and Ohio, causing commuter chaos and gridlock.
It takes 10 times longer to get anywhere.
Challenging and crowded.
Now the work begins to repair the 60-year-old span that carries more than 160,000 vehicles a day across the Ohio River.
We are going to ensure safety. Safety has not, is not, and will not be compromised.
But a span, some say, is compromised by Father Time.
This bridge hasn't been unsafe in terms of it falling in the river, but it's functionally obsolete. It's doing twice as much traffic as it was built for.
Let's talk about the Brent Spence Bridge, the efforts to repair it, and the calls to replace it.
From WLWT, this is Let's Talk Cincy, presented by Western and Southern Financial Group. Put our financial strength behind you.
It is literally the main artery of Greater Cincinnati, carrying commerce and commuters across the Ohio River between Kentucky and Ohio. In fact, the Brent Spence Bridge impacts this entire region and our nation. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Cincy. I'm Curtis Fuller. The Brent Spence, now temporarily blocked after a fiery truck crash. The Inferno damaged a 200-foot section of the span and has long been considered functionally obsolete. But over the years, efforts to replace the aging bridge have failed. That bridge is named after former Kentucky Representative Brent Spence, who served 30 years in Congress. Construction on the span took place on July 9th, 1960. It cost $10 million to build. The bridge stretches more than 1,700 feet across the Ohio River, and it opened to traffic on November 25th, 1963. Well, right now, work is underway to repair the bridge. $12 million in federal emergency funds will be used to remove and replace damaged concrete and install new steel beams.
And this is something that burned with the type of heat where they couldn't even come in for a couple of hours.
When you see these images, it's hard not to say it's amazing no one was killed. A collision between two trucks in the northbound lanes of the Brent Spence Bridge caused this fireball that burned for more than 2 hours.
A truck jackknifed on the Brent Spence Bridge and was struck by a second truck carrying potassium hydroxide.
The intensity of this fire also caused damage to the upper deck of the bridge that carries southbound traffic.
You think about those that put out that fire this morning, that's pretty heroic.
These images from our Sky 5 drone show the damage in the daylight to the bridge and concrete decking of this nearly 60-year-old structure. All traffic now shut down on this major north-south artery. Curious onlookers say the fire just adds to the now scorched structure's stained past.
I just can't believe it. That is just a mess.
I've seen all these plans for the new bridges, but nobody's doing anything.
Maybe it will wake the people up in Congress to start to get this highway rebuilt. It might speed it up, but I really doubt it.
We will be removing and replacing a section of the upper concrete deck. The damaged section of the lower deck does not require a full removal of any section. Instead, we will mill out damaged concrete and fill it in with new material. In terms of traffic, all Ohio and truck traffic need to stay off of I-71 and 75 northbound, north of I-275. Folks in Ohio should use 275 and 471.
It took like 40 minutes to get over. Burning my gas. I don't know which way to go.
A lot of folks are asking that same question. Traffic has become a clogged mess.
No easy way out.
With the Brent Spence shut down, the Clay-Way Bailey Bridge is taking on some of that traffic load. It doesn't help when a car breaks down, pushing everyone's patience past the limit.
I'm back and forth. I work on this side and live on that side. So it's hard getting out of here.
It ain't just like 6 or 7 and it's done. Like this runs all the way up till late hours.
Well, Kentucky's Transportation Secretary signed an order for commercial trucks to use Interstate 275 to help cut down on the gridlock and traffic hazards on local streets. Violators could receive a ticket. Trucks making local deliveries are exempt. This will remain in effect until the Brent Spence Bridge reopens. The chaotic commute, the frustrations drivers are feeling, and the alternate ways to get you around the closed Brent Spence Bridge when we return. Well, it goes without saying that it's a nightmare getting around the closed Brent Spence Bridge. It's been frustrating for drivers as well as people living in the Covington area who have seen more cars in their neighborhood. Let's Talk Cincy's Brian Hamrick spent an afternoon speaking with some confused commuters.
What's it like?
Oh, it's horrible.
What's going on out here?
It's just a lot of traffic. They said because it's the bridge, but it's a lot of traffic.
Even here when you're not on the interstate?
Yes.
Right, exactly.
Yes, all over.
It's just backing up everybody everywhere?
Yes, everywhere. They need to open something back up.
You're just going around. What have you had to do?
Oh, well, I'm coming from Fort Mitchell, so I've had to take the back roads everywhere.
It's just no getting anywhere, is there?
No, there is not.
Well, you go on one street, you take your shortcut. What are you seeing?
Traffic everywhere. I mean, doesn't matter where you go.
I'm on my way to work, just hoping I get there on time. That's about it. I mean,
what's this GPS got to be going crazy?
It is. Well, I kind of know it, but I just wanted to make sure it was the right way, so.
Taking you everywhere today?
It is. It is. Leaving the gym, going to work.
Everybody's going every which direction. They have to go however they can go.
Are you seeing a lot of people out there?
Oh, yeah. On side streets that, you know, especially big trucks that aren't normally there.
It makes it more complicated.
Oh, it sure does. It sure does.
How would you describe it?
Well, we just have to be safe, you know.
Be safe. Of course, you've heard the saying, pack your patience when it comes to avoiding the traffic jams. There are a number of alternate routes to get you around the closed Brent Spence Bridge. Let's Talk Cincy's Elena Martella is here with how you can navigate the different detours.
So with this Brent Spence Bridge closure, there are a lot of options to get around it. First of all, the bridges that you can use. You can use the Clay Wade Bailey Bridge, you can use the Roebling Bridge, you can use the Taylor Southgate Bridge, or the Big Mac Bridge. Keep in mind, no matter where you're headed, you will want to allow yourself some extra time because these detour routes do get pretty heavy with traffic. So if you're heading to Cincinnati, you can take 275 eastbound to 471 northbound, make your way over the Big Mac Bridge, and another option would be to take Dixie Highway and travel northbound, use the Clay Wade Bailey Bridge. Now, if you're coming to northern Kentucky, you reverse those routes. So you'll take the Big Mac Bridge over the river and then to 471 southbound, you'll get to 275, travel on 275 westbound to reach your destination. And then the same goes with the other route. You take the Clay Wade Bailey Bridge over the river, continue southbound on Dixie Highway to your destination. But again, cannot stress enough, no matter where you're headed, allow yourself that extra time to make it to your destination.
No doubt, good advice, and make sure you join Elena each weekday mornings on WLWT News 5 Today. She'll keep you up to date on all the traffic conditions beginning at 5 a.m. Up next, it's been called obsolete for decades, the ongoing talks and roadblocks to replace the Brent Spence Bridge when Let's Talk Cincy continues. I want you to consider this. There are more than 614,000 bridges all across the United States. About 4 in 10 are 50 years or older. And the most recent study by the American Society of Civil Engineers, called the Infrastructure Report Card, showed that nearly 10% of all bridges were considered structurally deficient. There's been a lot of talk about replacing the Brent Spence Bridge. It's estimated it would cost at least $2.5 billion. The nation's backlog of bridge rehabilitation needs approximately $123 billion. Nonetheless, as you can imagine, this latest incident with the Brent Spence is causing a lot of talk, again, about replacing the old bridge.
The impact of that 1,500-degree fireball and 1,500-foot plume of black smoke is that we're in serious trouble for at least the near future, because that bridge is the heartbeat of this region. If you look at this region, the way it's laid out, 60% of all the 2 million people who live in this region live within 5 miles of that 75 corridor. And 70% of the 1 million jobs in this region are within 5 miles of the 75 corridor. And that corridor's linchpin is the Brent Spence Bridge. We know that we need a new bridge, and we've needed it for a long time. How this incident would lessen that need is beyond me. It can only increase the need for people, reasoned men and women, to get in a room and saying, no more kicking this can down the road. We need to fix it now. This is an opportunity as well as a tragedy, but we have to do it. If you look at this is the second time we dodged a bullet. A few years ago, a car fell from the upper deck onto the roadway of the lower deck. It happened at noon. Nobody was hurt. Amazing bit of luck. Think of the luck we just had or this horrific incident a few days ago. What if that 1,500-degree fireball had happened at 3 p.m. instead of 3 a.m. when that bridge was full of cars? So the idea here is that we have been very lucky, and that's no way to plan a future.
Leadership at the presidential level. Obama came and stood at the foot of this bridge. Trump talked about this bridge. It's been in the top 10 of worst bridges in the country for a long time, the most dangerous corridors in the country. And that's the thing that people need to remember. This bridge hasn't been unsafe in terms of it falling in the river, but it's functionally obsolete. It's doing twice as much traffic as it was built for, which means we have a lot more accidents. And if you track it, you can see that there are a lot more accidents on this corridor than any other stretch in greater Cincinnati and around the country, by the way. So there's enough blame to go around at the federal level, at the state level. We just haven't, Democrats and Republicans just haven't prioritized transportation like they should.
We will not be able to get substantial money from the federal government, and I'm talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, until we have a finance plan that's sound and reasonable, that can pass muster in all the bond houses in the United States. We're not going to get any money from the federal government until we have a sound plan. The first rule of getting money out of the federal government is have your own house in order.
The larger question for Northern Kentucky, for Cincinnati, for this entire corridor that carries 200,000 vehicles a day and 3% of the nation's GDP. That's close to $600 billion. The larger question for the area here, for this region and beyond, is capacity. This bridge is clearly over its intended capacity. And that's why there's been so much conversation about a companion bridge. So from the technical side, which is what the Transportation Department, the Transportation Cabinet works from, technical side, this bridge is safe and sound and sturdy.
We have multiple infrastructure needs in Northern Kentucky and greater Cincinnati. And this is why, because as a country, we're not investing in infrastructure like we should.
And this footnote now, according to the latest report released by the American Road and Transportation Builders Association, Ohio ranks 12th in the nation for the number of structurally deficient bridges. Kentucky, by the way, ranks 17th. Well, Kentucky officials are hopeful that the Brent Spence will reopen in late December. Let's Talk Cincy's Brian Hamrick shows us the beginning of the bridge fix, starting with a delivery down in Frankfort.
The Brent Spence has spanned the Ohio River for almost 60 years. If it could only bridge the gap of time to when it's done, some believe we got about the next best thing. What was your reaction when you heard this thing could be done by December 23rd for $3.1 million?
Well, across the board, I was very, very happy, surprised, but that's a great thing to happen for the state and for the community.
Chris Knockelman is Kenton County Judge Executive. He was preparing for a longer shutdown and a more expensive fix. Nonetheless, we still have to live with weeks of traffic tribulation.
I think a key part of this is to ask everyone's patience. These are unprecedented, crazy times, and of course, we hope this is the last big thing that hits our community for 2020. But I think we just need to really support what the state's doing, the contractors, they're working round the clock, remember. Everyone obviously diverting their traffic, staying home when they can, and then realizing that, some of these discussions of, you asked about, I think you did not ask about trucks, but the semis and things that are decided, they're making decisions to get into the urban core of Covington. That's not where the state wants them. The city doesn't want them there. We don't want them there. They need to divert, and if they do need to come into the core, know that they can actually travel those areas. And the local police, the state, they're doing the best possible job with signage and whatnot to keep those semis out of the urban core. There's just a reality that they've got to come in and serve some parts of the community, but people just need to be patient and understand that the local police and everybody's working on that.
It took inspectors days to assess the damage.
Delivery of the repair materials at the Brent Spence should start beginning next week.
Drew Thompson is president of Bottoms Engineering. He says the steel for the project is already being delivered to his facility in Frankfort.
We've purchased beams through a steel supplier, and the beams have come from 4 different locations in order to meet the requirements of the cabinet.
Delivering the fix to some extensive traffic trauma on the bed of a semi.
And that was Brian Hamrick reporting for us. And by the way, the Transportation Secretary said when they can, they will work around the clock, hoping to meet that December 23rd deadline. Well, up next, we speak with a former Ohio State representative who helped write legislation to build a new bridge. Welcome back, everyone. One former Ohio State lawmaker says a plan to replace the Brent Spence is just collecting dust in a file cabinet somewhere up in Columbus. A plan was developed, you see, voted on and signed, but the wait for a new bridge continues.
Back in the old days, what they're doing with that $12 million would be called a Band-Aid approach, okay? Because you're patching one part of an obsolete bridge.
The bridge itself is today, even with the repairs that are underway, the bridge is safe as ever.
That from Kentucky's Transportation Secretary Jim Gray, giving a status report on the Brent Spence repairs after a fiery crash November 11th caused the bridge to be shut down, at least until December 23rd.
Safety is job number one. I've said there will be no cutting corners on this project. No cutting corners at any time.
I've never dealt with anything like this before.
A new perspective of the damage on the bridge.
Still feel the heat from this. Yeah, well, you can hear the metal twisting. And
this is Covington Police body cam video we obtained. It takes you onto the bridge so you can see the scorched damage up close.
Yeah, and you'll hear the metal creaking every now and then.
The accident heightens concerns about the long-term safety of the Brent Spence.
The thing that we worked hard to fix.
Former Ohio State Representative Dale Mallory sponsored legislation 6 years ago, and then Governor John Kasich signed the measure aimed at remedies to replace the Brent Spence.
We have one of the worst bridges in the United States of America back here. It became our focus. That is why we came up with our House bill to build a new Brent Spence bridge. Now, in that House bill was a public-private partnership component. that would help fund a new bridge. I think what needs to happen now, Curtis, and what I'm seeing, and you asked me what I thought when I saw this. For one, we had talked about a lot of things. We worked very hard to pass that legislation in Columbus. There were people that we had to convince to come on board, which in the end, it ended up being a good thing. There was some talk with Kentucky. So what you have right now, with this bridge being down, and you see the effect that it has, leaders, key leaders on both sides have to come together now. This thing is backing up traffic deep into Kentucky, deep into Ohio. So those leaders have to come together, look at the legislation that we passed, because a lot of people never paid attention to it. I'll tell you this, Curtis, here, this is one of the ink pens that signed that legislation that Governor Kasich used on House Bill 533 to build the new Brent Spence Bridge back in 2014. It has been 6 years. 6 years since we passed that legislation. You know, this pen wants to ride across a new bridge one day. It does. And so do a lot of people who need it. I heard talk about how important this bridge is. Curtis, it is the only bridge, it is the only highway that runs north and south from Florida to Canada. It is used for travel, it is used for commerce, it is used for everything. And now it is damaged. Now it has to be repaired. Now it will be down for a month. You had talked about tolling the bridge? Well, that was one of the ideas on the Ohio side. So what you had was on the Kentucky side, they wanted to impose some new taxes. On the Ohio side, you know, they wanted to use a method that they use in the turnpike further up in Ohio. And that's where that structure came from. The big question was the funding. We didn't have $2.5 billion, and neither did Kentucky. This is a $2.5 billion project.
And that number keeps going up and up and up. What we found out in talking to people is that this is not a blame game. They encourage everyone to get involved and talk about this. I should point out also that this is something that they suggest that people should work together. And as we mentioned earlier, there are thousands of bridges all across this country still facing similar problems as the Brent Spence. Well, that does it for this edition of Let's Talk Cincy. We want to hear from you. Email us your ideas at ltc@wlwt.com. And remember, you can always watch full episodes or get more information on wlwt.com.